Oh no. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Jamila, and today we're going to be talking about all the books that I read so far in 2019. I did have this information already up on my other channel, but since I'm starting new, starting fresh, I'm gonna show you guys all the books I've read this year so far. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. The first book I read this year is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. This book to me was so good. Like, I highly enjoyed it. The writing, I know a lot of people say that the second half of this book isn't as good as the first half, or that the book is really slow and takes too long to get through. I did not have this problem. I started this book, I believe, on the 5th of January, and I finished it on the 11th. So it didn't take me that long to get through it, and I really enjoyed it. This book is about Laszlo Strange, and ever since he was a child, he was obsessed with this place called Weep. And then one day when he's playing outside, the name of this place, the real name, Weep isn't the real name, the name of this place disappears from his mind and all of the people in the world. So no one can remember what the original name was, and he's just like obsessed with finding out what happened and all the mysteries of Weep. And Laszlo is such a wonderful character to follow. He's literally so sweet. He loves books. Like, how can you not love this book? I mean, I understand there's people who don't, but I just really enjoyed it so much, and I honestly can't wait to reread it. If I didn't have so many other things to read, I would have reread it by now. Love it. And then the second book I read in the month of January of this year was Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. I sincerely love this book as well. Like, and not only did I love it, I flew through this one. I think I got through this one even faster than I got through Strange the Dreamer. And I also heard that people don't like the way the plot turns in this book, but I just loved it. I love the twist. I love that it kind of ends up going a little bit in a direction. I just thought it was amazing, and I don't want to say too much because this is obviously the sequel in this duology, but Muse of Nightmares was so good. I just love the backstory and how everything came together with the characters, and I love the ending. Definitely recommend. And I rated both of these books 5 out of 5 stars. Right. So the next book I read in 2019 is Song of Blood and Stone by L. Penelope. I thought this book was pretty good. I did enjoy it quite a bit. I thought that Jasminda was a very interesting character to follow, and that she was just so wonderful in the sense that she was confident in herself, prideful of her family, and all of these things. But this book is about a girl named Jasminda, and she has the power of Earth Song, and she's also an outcast because of it. So her power can heal, and she ends up meeting this guy named Jack. He is being chased by soldiers, and he just kind of ends up in front of her injured, and the soldiers that are chasing her end up chasing him to where she is, and then all of them end up in a cabin together, and that's all I'm gonna say. I thought it was a good book. It just needed maybe a little bit more world building, but I did enjoy it, and I gave this book 4 stars. And I also just love that the main character is so gorgeous, and she has dark skin, and it's just yes, like, it's just yes. Camera's tilting and falling, and we have problems. Sorry about that, production issues. The next book I read in 2019 was Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi, and unfortunately I was not super impressed by this book, and it's so unfortunate because I was so excited for it. And honestly, I don't know, maybe like 10-year-old me would have completely loved this book, and I definitely give it that. I think it's probably written for a younger audience because, you know, when you're younger, a lot of the time you don't see as much issues with plot and pacing, but that's kind of the issues that I had with this book. I just think that it could have been done a little better, and I think what killed this book for me was definitely the pacing of the book and the romance in the book. I hated the romance, and the pacing was just kind of all over the place, and also I feel like the main character completely changed her motive, or changed her, I don't know, perspective within one page. Like, you're on one page, she thinks one way, you turn it and she thinks a completely different way, and that was just like threw me completely off. I definitely commend Tomi Adeyemi for writing this book and what it means to so many other readers out there, but it just personally was not for me, and I'm honestly thinking of giving away this book, if I'm being completely honest with you guys. I don't even think I wrote in here. Okay, yeah, so this book I gave a 2.5 3-star. I would say more accurately probably 2.5, because I don't want to reread this, and I did not enjoy actually getting through the book, so that says a lot. I would say like a 2.5. That sounds terrible to say out loud, but yes. And the next book I read in 2019 was The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, and completely different experience. I freaking love this book. This is one of my favorite books of all time ever. Like, I can't wait to reread this as well. This book was so good, and I think one of the reasons why this book resonated with me so much was because I've never seen myself represented so well in a book in my life. Like, literally, it felt like I was in this book. It felt like it was my family in this book, my friend. Like, I've never felt that type of connection to a book in my life, and it was just crazy to feel that at the age of 22. I finally felt like I was being represented in a book, and I just didn't understand it. I didn't understand how Angie Thomas literally wrote me into a book, like, and my family and my neighborhoods and like all this stuff. I don't even know how to explain how I feel about this book. That's how strongly I feel about it. But it turned out that the author Angie Thomas is from where my family is from, so it makes so much sense that she wrote experiences that I can understand and a character that I can relate to. And also, of course, the factor of being black. I am black and my family is black, so I just related so strongly to this, and the stuff that she was saying just about police brutality and the way people look at black people and all of those things just resonated so strongly in my heart. So this book is everything, and I loved it so much, and I gave it 5 stars, no doubt. And the next book I read in 2019 was okay, that was wrong. The next book I read in 2019 was Dredd Nation by Christina Ireland. I definitely enjoyed this book. It was kind of hard to read at some parts just because I just felt bad that the main character felt like bad about herself or felt unpretty compared to the lighter depicted character in this book, and I don't know why, it just like really kind of like hurt me. But that's not exactly the whole point or plot of this book. This book is about a girl named Jane McKean, and she goes to a school where black girls are trained to kill zombies for white people. And yeah, pretty much they're sent to these schools to be trained in the art of killing zombies, and then they're sent to work for white people as protectors, attendants, or what have you. And this book really spun some things on its head. Like, it was very interesting because I had never read a concept like this before, and I do sincerely love zombies. It was a really good book. I gave this book 4 stars. I thought it was really good, and a whole star just honestly came from the uniqueness of the concept. It was refreshing to read something different. Okay, so I cannot remember the order of these last books because I have not updated my reading journal. All right, so the next book that I read in 2019 was Scythe by Neil Shusterman. This book was so good. I loved it. I love the concept. I felt like this was another unique book and a concept that I've never read before. Pretty much this book is about sides. So in this world, or in this future, there is no need in the world for natural death because they've overcome it. They have figured out how to heal and recover from pretty much anything. They can also like stay certain ages, like stay young for a long time. Like, it's very futuristic society, and in this society, because death doesn't happen naturally, they have to have people who kill every once in a while or glean every once in a while so that the population stays in order. This book follows two sides apprentices and their journey, and it's literally crazy. Like, it's so good. I gave Scythe 4.5 stars. I thought it was a very good, and I love the ending. Honestly, it was just really good. The next book I read this year was The Last Name Sara by Kristen Cicerelli. This book was also really good. I definitely enjoyed it. I did feel like I don't know what it was, but I felt like a little bit of something was missing, or maybe I just had expectations about what it would be, but I did really enjoy this book. I loved being in a world with dragons again. I loved like kind of doubting the main character before she actually learned what was right and what was wrong versus what she was used to. It's a very good book. It has dragons, has a love story. I don't know, it's just the way the plot comes together, everything tangles, like you think you know but you don't know. Like, it's a good book, and I do recommend this one as well if you're looking for something that has to do with dragons. This is a good one. I gave this book 4.5 stars. The next book I read was Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. This book was good, but it didn't like knock my socks off the way Strange the Dreamer did, but it was good, and it did kind of eventually pull me in and have me interested. I think the main issue I just had with this book was that I wasn't really interested in the setting of Prague, but this book is kind of hard to explain. It's about a girl named Karu, and she has blue hair. She has a very unconventional family, and she can walk through special doorways. Yeah, that's all I say, but I thought it was pretty good. It did take me a little bit to get into it, but I do think I finished it pretty fast. I gave this book 4.5 stars, so I think that half star was just because I wasn't as interested in the actual setting, but the writing was really good, and I did end up really liking it in the end. So the next book I read in 2019 was A Court of Thorns and Roses, and let me tell you something about this book. Okay, I did not like this book very much at all. I thought the whole first 3/4 of the book was very slow and boring, and I didn't like Tamlin, and Tamlin was pretty boring to me, and he kept annoying the crap out of me in this book. Like, just like their whole romance, like, I didn't like it at all. But yeah, I gave this book 2.5 stars. Wasn't one of my best reads. The next book I read was A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas, and this book, completely different experience, way better, fantastic. I loved it, and I gave it 5 stars. It really redeemed itself. I don't understand why the first book had to be that bad for this one to be that good, but if I reread, I might skim through that one, but I'm not gonna read that whole book. I would reread this whole book. So yeah, this was actually good quality content. The next book I read was Morningstar by Pierce Brown. This book was really good. I don't know why it took me so long to read, but it did. But it was absolutely so good. Like, the whole Red Rising trilogy to me is just so good. Like, the action, like, it took me a while to read the trilogy because 1, I didn't have all the books, and 2, I'm not a big science fiction reader, and this is pretty strong science fiction, so it did take me a little longer to read with the information dumping and all of those things, but the actual like shock factors and the plot and everything, I loved it. And I do want to reread this trilogy eventually, but I'm so glad that I finally finished it. and I painted the edges of the book and it looks amazing. Yes, I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. Alright, and then I read the last book in the Court of Thorns and Roses trilogy, which is A Court of Wings and Ruin. Actually, I guess this isn't technically the last book, but yeah, I read A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas, and I thought this book was good. There were some parts that kind of dragged a little bit for me. I did like the ending, even though I've heard people say it was too easy, but I did like the ending, and I gave this book 5 stars as well. I think it may be more of like a 4.75, just because, like I said, there were some parts that are just like a little slow to me, and a lot of planning and plotting and not so much like action just happening. But I did really like this book. And the last book I read in 2019, or the last book I finished in 2019 so far, is The Host by Stephanie Meyer. You guys, I loved this book. It does have some things that back when it was published would have been alright to have in a book, but today would be deemed as problematic. However, this was just delightful to read. This book is about an alien called Wanderer, and she is part of an invasion that happens on Earth, where these aliens specifically need hosts. So whatever planet they go to, they take over the bodies of the actual creatures on the planet. So when they come to Earth, they obviously take over human hosts. For Wanderer, her human fights back, and it's the story that happens after that gets juicy. So I definitely recommend this book. I'm pretty sure, yes, 5 out of 5 stars for me, and I would definitely reread it. I thought it was so good. Everyone who recommended it to me and told me it was so good, and I just thank you, because this has been sitting on my shelf for about 4 years and I finally read it, which is terrible, I know, but I'm so happy that I finally read it. Alright, so this is probably a long video, but those are all the books that I've read in 2019 so far. Hopefully I'll be reading a lot more this year, and I can't wait. Right now though, it is Ramadan, which is a religious month for Muslims, and in this month we really focused on God. And you know, if we want to read things that make us better Muslims and watch things that make us better Muslims, so we kind of avoid more of like the worldly stuff like fiction books. So I haven't really had the chance to read anything this month, but next month it's going down. So yeah, I probably won't have any reads for May at all except the Quran. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching my channel. I greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoy it, and subscribe to my channel for more bookish videos, and I'll see you next time. Bye.